everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Here are two netbooks. This is the new one. I've had this one for a while, refurbished it. It's an HP, and I find HP seems to build their stuff, no matter whether it's cheap or not, with a little bit more care, or I don't know what you call it. It's almost like they kind of understand like that how cheap you can get without making something absolutely a joke. And then you got Acer. Acer is like one of the bottom of the barrel companies. So is Asus. They're the ones that show up at Walmart, and they used to show up at Radio Shack and when it existed, and then it became, I forget, it had another name. I don't think it exists anymore in the retail space. Anyway, if you wanted an absolute cheap, like how cheap can you get, you went to Acer. And they made it so cheap that they just totally bogged it down with bloatware in order to make some money off it, because they're pretty much selling it almost at cost, but they put so much bloatware on there that they would get some kind of like a residual for clicks and things like that, that when people turned on the computer for the first time. So anyway, this is one I picked up at the thrift store for a while back now. I'll give you the different dimensions of the system. It's got a battery. It actually takes a charge, which is nice. Most laptops that I get from the thrift store are shot when it comes to the battery, which is no big deal because I just sort of take them to the coffee shop and it doesn't really matter. There's always a plug. So here's the card reader, and it's got a nice little plug-in cover there. This is the bottom of it. This pops off and you can get at the RAM and hard drive and stuff like that. And it came with 1 gigabyte of RAM. I gave it 2. So typically I have enough salvaged components from dead systems that I can upgrade stuff pretty easily. But that's kind of going away because, as you know, everything's soldered on, so you can't salvage anything anymore. Anyway, this is a really nice system. I popped off the keyboard to pop out the bottom to increase the RAM. Then I screwed up the ribbon cable and half the keyboard wasn't working, and I thought, oh no, I've screwed it up, and I took it apart again, reconnected the ribbon cable, everything works fine. So I was just like, you know, when you take things apart, there's always something that seems to go awry. It's got the old Atom and Windows 7 starter. It's a good system actually in terms of what it really is for what it is. 250 gigabyte hard drive, decent battery that still works, which is awesome. Decent, you know, Atom processor if you're talking Atom, because Atom processors are a single core with a hyperthread. So, you know, think 2000 level processor or less. Yeah, so the story with this one is it had its own recovery partition. I recovered it, and I would let it sit for any length of time, and it would just black screen on me. It would just go to a black screen, or it'd freeze on the screen, whatever screen it was on, and it would just freeze. It's like a freezing computer. So randomly it would freeze, and I don't know why it does that, but it does. So, you know, you go to use it, and it just freezes. It just will lock up. And particularly when it sits for any length of time. So I'm suspecting that this is a problem with maybe the thermal paste, maybe overheating, or the graphics. When they get to a certain temperature, maybe there's a little weak trace or something that, or solder joint or whatever, that when it gets to a certain temperature, it just freezes. It's done. So the sad part of that is, of course, this becomes much, much less useful than this. So HP has always been to me, it's been a pretty solid system. Like, I don't get this kind of shit with what's going on with this. It just works, and it works forever, pretty much. Acer, I've run across a lot of weirdness with Acer and Asus. Those two companies just seem, it's almost like they're experimenting half the time with what they're putting out, or they're just going so cheap that, you know, trying to get some value out of maybe advertising through their bloatware to make a buck on it. Anyway, so this one has been a struggle. This has been a struggle. I did a reinstall on it. It kept on freezing, couldn't update it, problem after problem. Everything checks out in terms of the hardware, but like the hard drive checks out fine. Everything that I run, memory checks out fine. Everything seems to check out fine, except after sitting for, like, say 4 hours, it'll freeze. So that doesn't necessarily make this thing useless, because I take these things to the coffee shop and I don't sit there for 8 hours. I sit there for a couple hours at the most. So this could still be really useful. And I hate to take things apart and try and do repaste of the on the processor and stuff, because honestly, sometimes you take these apart and they never start again, because Netbook, laptop, they're just not built to be totally ripped apart right down to the point where you can do the repaste a lot of times, because yeah. So anyway, that's my story with this one. I'm not going to go any further on it, just telling you what happened with this one. You might have seen it in a short or something. I'm not giving up on it, but yeah, I put Linux on it. It's been a fun project because I've done so much to try and get it working. Well, that's it, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.